Okay, bonjour tout le monde et bienvenue à notre deuxième session. Welcome to our second session of the Coaching for Systems and Teacher Change book discussion and coaching group. We are going to alternate our land acknowledgement from French to English week to week, so I'm going to be starting in French. Nous reconnaissons que Dyslexie Canada et IDEA Ontario désirent les citoyens sur tous les territoires traditionnels des Premières Nations, des Inuits et des Métis dans tout le Canada. Nous reconnaissons et apprécions profondément leur lien historique avec notre pays. Cette reconnaissance nous rappelle nos responsabilités envers nos relations et les terres ancestrales sur lesquelles nous apprenons, nous partageons et nous vivons. So welcome to Chapter 3, Effective Coaching Practices. I'm here with my co-host Sharon, and we are happy to have you here today. Again, if you missed the beginning, if you do want to go into a French breakout group or discussion group, go ahead and go to the three dots at the top of your picture and click on Rename, and you can add a bracket with an F in it. And we will make sure that you end up in a French discussion group. Today, we are going to be taking a look at Chapter 3, and we're going to give you a little extra time for discussion today based on some of our feedback. We're also going to put a link to a doc. I'm going to paste that into the chat right now. If you didn't get a chance last week to add your information on there, you can go ahead and do that, and we can share with you the recordings and anything that's created. And we can also welcome you to our Facebook discussion group. So if you haven't had a chance to do that yet, we can invite everyone in there where we're going to continue the discussion after our in-person or virtual, discussions. Just a reminder of our group norms. We're all coming to this journey from our own starting places, and we've experienced learning at our own pace and in our own way. As we discuss this book, the coaching role, and the implementation of the new curriculum with teachers and teaching teams, please be mindful that everyone is coming to this from their own understandings and from a place of trying to improve their practice. All right, so today, what is the purpose of a coach? And the purpose is to improve teacher practice to ultimately improve student outcomes. And what we are reading in the book is that the type of coaching is not as important as what the coach does when working with teachers and teams. So there are three key questions for this chapter. What are the most effective practices coaches use when supporting teachers? What are the most effective practices coaches use when supporting implementation teams? And how do coaches apply these practices in a three-phase recursive cycle? Let's do a quick review of Chapter 3, and I'm going to start us off. The typical coaching model occurs between two experienced educators, between an expert and a novice educator, and mostly face-to-face, but also virtually. The conclusion here is that not all coaching partnerships improve teacher practice. I'm going to pass you along to Sharon.
So welcome, everyone. I'm really glad to be here today. So as mentioned last time, researchers have found that the following factors lead to improved teacher practice and student learning. Coaching that specifically includes recurring cycles of building and using alliance strategies, so that's relationship building strategies, observing, modeling, and providing performance feedback. Emerging research on most effective system coaching practices, even though there's not as much research on this just yet, it seems to be emerging that it's very similar to the working with just individual teachers. So again, recurring cycles of using the alliance strategies, observing, modeling, and providing for performance feedback. System coaches also it was found that they were essential to support teams during initial and sustained school level implementation. So whether that's across a board or across a school, and the continuity of a coach for a minimum of 3 years was also shown, or is showing some evidence of being really effective. So we are going to start with a little breakout room. We're going to have groups of 5. We're going to ask you to just introduce yourself to your group, school board, what grade levels you're responsible for or who you're working with, and then describe your role and what the current literacy initiatives are at your board. So we have about 2 minutes per person. So we did double it from last time. Last time the feedback was 5 minutes was too fast. So we've doubled it to 10 minutes. So Una is going to move you into breakout rooms. If you've indicated that you speak French and like to be in a French group, with that little F beside your name, you'll be placed automatically. And then we're just going to do random groupings today. We know some of you are system coaches, some of you are working with individual teachers, but we're going to just do random groupings. So welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoy getting to know some other colleagues around the province, which is our goal for this. The entire reason we're doing this is for you guys to connect with each other, because I know working as a coach, I was often feeling very isolated, and a few of us would chit chat, but we really didn't know what the research was or anything about that. So this is what I'm really enjoying about this book study. Whoopsie, I don't want the timer on. Okay, so now we're going to move into sorry, I'm going to just talk about the effective coaching practices. And so this was what we talked about last time, just about that these have been identified as the 4 key practices that are researched, and there is good proof that these are essential. So first of all, we need to now figure out how to apply these practices in the 3-phase cycle. So this is what chapter 3 talked about. So phase 1 was to conduct a pre-meeting with the teacher or team to set the foundation up for the upcoming work. And so you need to know what you're implementing, what's the team working on, what's their goal. And then phase 2 was the in-classroom with the teacher, observing and modeling. And then phase 3, post-meeting with teacher or team, providing feedback. And all the while you are using alliance strategies. So that is considered essential. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what are those alliance strategies. So it is similar to a relationship. However, both the coach and the coachee mutually benefit from working together, and there's a shared purpose or vision. So most critically, the alliance formed between the coach and the teacher influences the degree to which there is improved teaching and improved student outcome. So it's critical that this relationship is always positive and encouraging. And I know, I just know from my own experience that you go in and you're gung-ho and you're so excited, and you're really hoping you're going to make a change. And then you meet up with teachers that go, no, I'm good. We don't need any help. We've got it all sorted out. But you're assigned to the school, and that's what your job is. And then you still have to move forward. So they are shaped by 3 factors: the interpersonal skills of the coach. So those are the communication skills and the capacity to build trust with the teachers or the team that you're working with. The degree to which the coach and the coachee collaborate, particularly for goal setting to improve teaching or team practice, and coming to a consensus about how to work together. The goal should be determined by the coachee, which the position I had last year was we were given our task. So this is interesting, is just to make sure that the person that you are coaching is on board with the next steps. And then finally, the depth of the coach's expertise in the content area is very significant. So you need to come in with previous knowledge. You need to know what is being implemented, because they're looking to you for that. So what does this look like? You have to ask open-ended questions. How do you see us working together? Do you have particular goals you would like to work towards? So those kind of open-ended questions, not coming in necessarily the way I did and just say, this is the task that we're doing. In phase 2, when you're working directly in the classroom, you would focus your attention on the area identified by the teacher. So the teacher is the driver in this. In phase 3, when you're meeting to debrief, it might be asking the teacher how they feel about the lesson or activity. So you need to be listening attentively and actively. You need to summarize what you have talked about. You would need to articulate your next steps. And then finally, you need to notice when they're making some really great moves forward. And we sometimes we can see the little changes, but sometimes teachers are just so overburdened with what they're dealing with, they don't actually notice the little changes. So we need to be positive and encouraging and move them forward, just baby steps at a time. So the coach should be aware of the educational innovation being implemented as discussed in the pre-meeting. So when you go in to observe, you need to know what you're observing. The coach watches the teacher teach to observe what is currently happening between the teacher and the students, and will make notes and or collect data. and the observation should occur before any modeling or feedback. So this was new learning for me. When I went in as a coach, I met with the teacher, but not watching the teacher necessarily teach. So we would chit chat and we would discuss, but I didn't necessarily watch how she was teaching. I just went in and modeled for her without doing this step first. So I think this is it can be a little intimidating. I think as a teacher myself, if I had someone coming in and they're going to watch me teach my class, I might feel very intimidated. So sometimes how you have to build that relationship before you get to this point where you're coming in and observing. And then the modeling, the coach shows the teacher or the team how to implement a practice, but only if the students are unsuccessful with the current practice. So we don't assume that they don't know how to do this things. Like all teachers are coming in with different backgrounds. Some of them may have been taking a lot of courses and they may be the expert in the room. So we need to be aware of who we are working with and what it is they need. Modeling should be presented as an option in early discussions with the teacher and team. And really importantly is don't shy away if there is a need to model, as noted in the observation. So we want to make sure that we are not watching teachers or knowing that teachers are doing ineffective practices. So that's really important that we do model when it's called for. And then providing performance feedback. The high quality feedback is more positive than corrective. And the teachers describe what the teacher did and how the student, when you're observing teachers, you describe what the teacher did and how the students responded. And when providing feedback to teams, you describe what the team did to advance the implementation effort. And say, for example, how they correctly analyzed data and how they used the data to inform their next steps. And performance feedback is provided in a post meeting. It's summarized in writing or in a checklist form. So you're looking at the data. You're not necessarily talking about, a style of teaching or that. And it concludes the cycle of the pre-meeting, the observation, and the modeling, if modeling was necessary. And hopefully throughout all this process, you have you continue to develop a really positive and trusting relationship so that this information is well received. So that's just sort of a quick summary of chapter 3. We're going to go back into breakout rooms, and this time you're going to need your book on page 133. If you, let me just pop this into the chat. For anyone that doesn't have a copy, I'm going to pop this into the chat and you can just have it available. And we're just going to go to it right now so you can just take a peek so you know what it is we're going to be doing. So the purpose of this tool is to reflect on what you learned about the 4 effective coaching practices used during this 3-phase coaching cycle. So complete each section. So you just write in your book because it's your book, right? So if you have one, and if not, they're just discussion points. So if you feel like you don't want to write anything down, you don't need to. This is your learning and how you want to get whatever works for you. So first, the one is like the phase 1, the pre-meeting, phase 2 in the classroom or at the team meeting, or in phase 3, the post-meeting, and just go through those questions with your group. And Una is going to send you off into the breakout rooms again. Thank you. So just a reminder that what the coach does and how they go about doing that are important for improving student outcomes and improving system-wide implementation of an educational innovation. So using the 4 practices of observing, modeling, providing feedback, and while using alliance strategies at all times will have a positive impact. And just a heads up of what's coming up next. We are meeting November 27th at 11:30, and we'll have a brief overview of chapter 4. And then we'll again try to give you time to meet and talk. So this is a really interesting chapter. At first, when I was reading it, it says, a lot of people want to skip over this one, but it's actually really, really good because it's like, how does the system impact what you are able to do in the classroom? So it's actually a really interesting chapter. So we're going to just go back to a few slides to the, for those of you that need to go, we realize that that part is over, but we would love to hear what's going on at your school.